Dan, thank you so much for doing this today. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. Your story is remarkable, and I, for one, feel really privileged to be able to hear it, and I'm really excited to be able to share it. Do you want to begin by sharing a little bit about growing up in Cambodia, telling us a little bit about your family?
I grew up in a big family, and we were farmers. Like my dad and my mum were farmers, and after the war, life there was a bit tough.
Sure.
But yeah, it seems like I was a happy kid at the time, and so I've got 3 sisters and 2 younger brothers.
Right. And whenever you grew up into your mid to late teens, then there's an opportunity that came up with work. Do you want to share a little bit about that opportunity?
Yeah, so I was on the street with my friends, like sleep in the market, and like just try to figure out what I was gonna do back then. And then one of my best friends popped up at the time, and he was like, "I've heard somebody got a job like in Thailand."
Sure.
And that was $300 working on boat, 2 weeks on and off.
Yeah.
So I thought that was brilliant.
What would have been the average pay in Cambodia?
At the time it was about $75 per month.
Right. So considerably more in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more. It's like almost like 7 times.
And so you then decided to take this job opportunity. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey of taking the job, moving towards Thailand? I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Oh, so, and then when we got to the border, we get off the taxi at the time, and then there's a guy get on the motorbike, 3 of us with the driver, so 4 people on the motorbike,
right,
which is 125cc.
Right.
So a small bike. So we jumped in the back and then drove off to this villa, which was very fancy.
Sure.
Like air conditioning and food in the fridge, and like nice sofa, and everything. So we was like, wow, we made the right decision. We living in the dream.
Yeah.
And so we arrived at 12 o'clock, and then wait until 3 for other people to gather up in the same house, and then 3 o'clock we all jumped into this like tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
And then off we went, like leave the house, and then when we were in the house, when we at the border, which is like a wire fence, there's Thailand. We know that the guys that's Thailand. And
sure.
When you get there, there's no way back, because if you lose or if you can't make it, mess. Your life will be messy. So we have to follow this guy.
Sure.
We walked through from broad daylight to the dark, through sugar countries to like spiky trees, whatever we had to do, because there was no documents or go through the normal immigrations to get stamps, or this is the way, to get in the country like legally. And then we never knew where we were when we on the pickup truck.
And then you arrived at the port, and then stepped onto the boat, and still thinking that this is the opportunity that you were expecting. Can you tell us a little bit of what the working conditions were like whenever you got onto the boat?
The first, I would say, between when we get to the middle of the ocean of Gola, Thailand, the first 6 weeks or 1 or 2 months, working condition was horrendous.
Right.
Like non-stop, no break times, no naps, just a cup of coffee and then keep going.
It's just relentless.
Yeah, and then, but the interesting thing is, when we arrived there, as long the boat pair and they swap staff, they swap
Okay.
crew.
Yeah.
The captain just show up with AK-47, and that I was scared as like entire things like that was it. This is different world. So basically, so we just throw the ball and just like shooting, boom, boom, and in the sea. So it's about 5 or 6 bullets, just boom, boom. So we all on the boat just like, what is this? You know, like a young teenagers, boys who promise to be like really
Yeah.
amazing opportunity, and then turn out it's like a threat already.
You've mentioned before, whenever we've been chatting, that as the staff swap boats, then you had a conversation with somebody who was in a similar position to you, but maybe 3 or 4 years later.
They told us that they've been there like for 3 or 4 years. There's no way of they keeping records of how long they've been there.
Right.
And that's the moment that I felt like, I don't know when we are going, like me, myself, and my friends are, get out of this place.
That moment of realizing that you were stuck, that must have been horrendous. And completely disorientating. All of your expectations of what you thought was going to happen are completely shattered. And I know that as we've chatted through your story, that was such a dark and disorientating moment for you. I can't even begin to imagine how you would have felt there. But what you've said to me in the past is that even in the midst of the darkness and the disorientation, that God gave you hope in the midst of all of that.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share a little bit of how God helped you even in the darkest moment of your life.
So I usually have a dream like being like about the sea is like about 1.5 meters above the sea, the waves and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe I was 8 or 9 or 10.
Sure,
year old.
you had this dream.
Yeah, and then the dream was like very compelling, like
Sure.
really like strong. And then when I woke up, I felt like, what is it? You know,
Right.
wow, that was amazing. And then when I reflect, when I remind me of this situation when I was on the boat,
Sure.
like in Gulf of Thailand, working non-stop, like conditions were terrible. And in fact, it's like the slavery, you know?
Yeah.
And then at the time I've kind of, you know, grew up with a lot of surrounded by missionaries.
Right.
Then, you know, I've heard the living God, I heard about Jesus, and
Sure.
I heard about, you know, good news
Sure.
and all this kind of stuff. But after all this happened to me and my family in the past, I started to walk my own way.
Sure.
And that's only moment when I was on a boat that I started to give it a go with my faith back.
Right. Right. So you're able to eventually get a couple of breaks from this relentless working condition, and then some birds showed up.
That was pretty cool. I was working, we're all working, busy, non-stop, and then suddenly there's a bird landing, like a seagull with skinny, I don't know, probably they try across the Gulf of Thailand from one to another,
Right.
so how it works, but and somehow it's a miracle, like come and land on our boat. And then it was died, the first one that landed, it was died after it landed. So I thought like, whoa, so what is this? For me, I feel like something's always like leading me, or showing me like after like I was dreaming about this and I was on the sea and then something's happening. So
This felt like a sign.
I take really strong notice of
Sure,
something,
sure.
like, small thing happened. But I didn't realize that because we knew that would be 4 to 5 years, sometimes 6 years that would be on this boat. Never know, nobody told us. So
Yeah.
but I started to take a bit of moments every night or day, like spend time with God.
Sure.
Went up to the rooftop with the barrels, bottles, and then just keep praying like about
Right.
5 to 10 minutes. So yeah, so about sometimes later, and then another one landed, and then I was like, right, so we need to feed this one, make sure that in my head, it's like, I don't want this to die again.
Sure.
So I fed fresh water. I fed them with fish and stuff. And then about a couple of days later, then it flew off. So I thought, oh wow! So I think I saved something.
Sure.
But it was really cool though, because like all my friends and people work with me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, we want to eat that one. It's like, no.
Right.
I was the one to protect it,
Right.
and it flew away. So again, another one came, and then this time it's quite healthy, but I wasn't sure that capable to go or not. So I put it in the cage and doing, my routines like
Sure.
feeds and stuff.
Sure.
And then after a few days, and then I let go, and then it flew away. So I always feel like something's happening.
Yeah,
I feel it
yeah.
build up my momentum, build up my excitement about what's going on.
So there's this moment where you are noticing things, and you're speaking to God. You're sensing that God's speaking, and you're also witnessing these birds getting healthier and escaping. And then within days, a storm hits.
One of the company's boats sank,
Sure.
capsized because hit by the storm, and then my boat, the captain knew what's happening, and they can't do anything. Then it's like, well, we anchor it and see if the storms come. But after two nights or a few days, the rope stuck under my boat's propellers. And then one of my best friends jumped in, and he cut the rope, and he got hit by the boat, or he drowned, and then he's dead. And then the rope was cut, and he wasn't coming back. It was horrendous. I feel really, really like, at the time, his story and his family never know where he's gone, because no way that people identified this person. So that's
It's
it.
brutal.
But anyway, so the boat cut, and then we were sailed to the nearest island.
Right. So you see the land, and what do you do?
The first night, I was going to jump, but there was like massive fish under the boat.
Right.
And I was freaked out, and I was like,
Sure.
no, I'm not going to do that. But the second night, the second day, they moved closer to shore, which is about between 3 and 4 kilometers distance.
Which is still a big distance.
Yeah. But for me, all my excitements, I think that doesn't matter.
Sure.
I leave in the boat, I die. If I do die, I try my best.
And so you escaped.
I did, yeah. The second
and just
night,
swam.
just 12 o'clock, jumped in and just kept swimming. I was swimming. I don't know, just until like I ran out of energy. My
Sure.
body was like so like shattered, and
Sure.
I drank a lot of salt water, and my throat was really like salty and thirsty.
Sure.
And then I couldn't swim anymore. And then I was like, this is it. And I was grateful with that. I've tried, because I know that, because I've seen deaths, many deaths in the past. So I was like, God, I've tried my best, and thank you for everything. I did it. And then I touched something. I was like, woke up like, what was
that?
going on? Because
Right.
I'd never swum in the sea before. I never ever been into the sea. So I was swimming until I hit the sand, and then I thought I was on the sand on the beach. Keep crawling, and then I collapsed. Right.
That moment of lying on the beach must have been relief, exhaustion, but also there is a whole part of your story that from that moment to where you are today, it's just been miracle after miracle, of you landing on the beach with no documentation, not knowing where you were, nobody else knowing where you were, but for you to have found your way back home, for then you moving here, marrying the love of your life, kids, and settling in Ireland. Your story is truly remarkable. Your story is remarkable, but unfortunately, it is way too common. The story of being trafficked, the story of finding yourself in these disorientating moments. I guess I wanted to close this out then by asking you why you wanting to share your story with us, and is there anything that you would want to say to us about the reality of modern slavery today?
Well, I like to share this because I knew that I really, like, when I was on the boat, I was wishing, I was praying that I want to break through this situation.
Sure.
I want people to be aware of the 21st century's human trafficking and slavery. And that's why, and also I was praying to God that I want to share my story to impact the world of being, helping those lives on the boat nowadays, currently.
Right.
Being a slave or being trafficked in Thailand or in the world or globally.
Sure.
So I want people take more serious consideration.
Right.
I want people to be aware of.
Right.
Because this is my story, right?
And this has happened within years.
Yeah,
It's
I'm glad that I'm here to tell you this, but what about those people who don't have a voice, don't have a words, or those people who died without people knowing that their family died or somebody that left the country, no documentaries, no documentations, and then it's dead, so they're dead. So we need to stop this. People need to wake up. People need to realize that this is happening.
Thank you for making us aware, and thank you for sharing your story. I really do feel privileged to have heard it today, and thank you, Dan, for sharing it. Thank you.